Thanks for purchasing your new Royce Union bike. With proper care and maintenance, your bike will give you years of enjoyment. But before that first ride, you'll have to assemble it. We're here to help, so let's get started. Here in the box is a Royce Union RMX. Tools are provided. We also recommend, to make the job easier, adjustable wrench, flathead screwdriver, Phillips head screwdriver, wire cutters or scissors, metric set of Allen wrenches. Now let's open up the box and remove all the protective padding from it. Inside the Royce Union RMX parts box, you will find a right and left pedal, both labeled R for right, L for left, multi-tool, a set of Allen wrenches, and a Phillips head key on the bottom of the Allen wrench, and your owner's manual. Also included, you will find rear cargo rack and front fender. First thing we'll do is install the seat and the seat post into the frame. You'll notice a safety line on the seat post. You want to make sure it is inside the frame below the safety line. Using a quick release clamp, you want to lock it down. If there's not enough pressure, in order to increase pressure, you want to tighten down the bolt on the other side and readjust. Still not enough pressure to keep the seat up. It may take a few tries to get it right. You want enough pressure to close it and not too little. Now it's time to place the bike onto the bike stand. If you do not have a bike stand at home, we recommend using the cardboard and placing the bike on top of the cardboard. Now let's move on to the front of the bike and attach the handlebars. You want to make sure this top nut is loose and the cables are not tangled. Now grab your 6mm Allen wrench, secure the stem bolt, make sure the handlebars are in line with the forks. And once your stem bolt is secure, you want to loosen these bolts to adjust the handlebars, making sure that both sides are evenly spaced. This one is not. There's more space on the bottom than the top. Also using your 6mm Allen wrench, you want to loosen both of these bolts to readjust your handlebars, making sure your handlebars are in line with the center. You will see grooves in the center of the handlebars. Proper riding position, having these facing upwards. Double check that it is in the center. And re-secure these bolts, making sure spacing is equally the same. Once secure, make sure both spaces are evenly and tightened correctly. Grab your Phillips head screwdriver and put the reflector and bell into place. Now let's position the bell. Before attaching the front wheel, you want to attach the front fender. Top bolt will go here. You want to remove the bolt. Put the bolt through the fender. On the opposite side, you want the washer and the nut to secure it in place. Use a wrench on the back side of this bolt to hold it down while you're tightening it up with the Allen wrench. Now to attach the fender struts to the mounts on the forks. Using a Phillips head screwdriver, also remove this plastic cover. Now that we have attached the front fender, you want to install the front tire. In order to do so, you squeeze the brakes, grab the brake noodle to release it, to give it enough space to put the tire in. When installing the front tire, check for proper direction. If the tread pattern gets narrower, that means it's forward. Now let's attach this. Undoing both bolts, there's a safety washer. Put the safety washer in the hole. Once you have attached the front tire, make sure it clears the front fender with no rubbing. Now it's time to reattach the front brake. Squeeze both sides of the brake, grab the brake noodle, secure it back in place. Let's move on to checking the front brake pads, making sure they are evenly not touching the tire or below the rim on both sides. And a good test to do is squeezing the brakes to making sure they're evenly seated. Now let's move on to checking the tension of these brakes. When squeezing these brakes, you want both brake pads to be touching at the same time. These look well. If you need any move, if there's less movement on this side rather than this side, you would want to churn this Phillips head screwdriver right for more tension for proper movement. These brake pads are touching the rim at the same time. After completion of the front brakes, the same method will be used on the rear brakes. Once that is done, it's time to move on to the pedals. There is a right and left pedal, both labeled with an R for the right, L for the left. The right turns towards the front of the bike using an adjustable wrench. Now it's time to move on to the left side of the bike. The left pedal is reverse threads, spins towards the front of the bike as well. After attaching the pedals, it's time to move the rear of the bike. The rear fender gets attached with the bottom bolts. The top bolts is for the cargo rack. After attaching the rear fender, check for any rubbing on the fender wall. And there is some tire rubbing. The fender is made of metal, so you can start doing some movements to making sure there's no more rubbing. And now the fender is good to go with no tire rubbing. Now let's grab the cargo rack and install it next. There's two bolts that hold the rear cargo rack. This bolt and this bolt. 4mm Allen key and a Phillips head screwdriver to undo these bolts. I removed the two bottom bolts, one on each side, to install the bottom of the luggage rack. Now the same thing on the opposite side. Now it's time to move on to the front bolts. You want to remove both sides first. Now on the other side. The RMX comes equipped with a Nexus 3-speed internal hub. Adjustments don't normally need to be made, but we like to run through them anyways. Using your left hand, you pedal, switch through the gears, make sure the gears are running smoothly. Everything is in proper working order. Now it's time to inflate the tires. The RMX tire pressure are rated for 60 psi. You can find that on the sidewall. Same tire pressure of 60 psi is used for the front tire. Now that we have the bike off the stand, we had a few last minute adjustments to double check. Checking the handlebars, make sure everything is straight, in line, and bolts are secure. Everything looks in proper riding position. Now it's time to move on to the seat. Seat is recommended even with the ground and approximately pelvis height. It's always a personal preference. Seat looks good. Now it's time to get on the open road.